So the offensive staff of the Las Vegas Raiders is currently unemployed after their 41-24 loss against the Cincinnati Bengals. Antonio Pierce was leading this team to a 2-2 record as the first season as the full-time head coach of the Raiders, but now has completely plummeted to a 2-7 record. And after the firings, he was talking to the media, and this is what he had to say about the firing of his QB coach, offensive coordinator, and offensive line coach. Take a listen.
Yeah, just performance results and production. Just wasn't heading the direction I wanted it to go. And I'll use the next, 24 to 48 hours to sit down with the staff and figure out who's going to call the offense going forward. I'm using a bye week to look at everything.
Was this your decision, or did anyone influence your decision-making process?
100% my decision.
So I want to know, are you surprised that the Las Vegas Raiders would fire essentially their entire offensive staff only 9 weeks in?
No, a little bit. I mean, all these coaches were first-year coaches for him. I mean, he picked a new staff, and he's decimating it 9 weeks into his first season as the head coach. I think he might be getting a little ahead of himself. This is the Raiders' mantra, though. They have now switched coordinators or head coaches for the fourth time in 5 years. So, they're a revolving door. It's for coaching staff at the Raiders. I don't know why anybody would want to go there and play for Antonio Pierce, who appears to, he flip-flops his quarterbacks all the time. I think he's done a poor job with the mixed messaging. First, he says the players are making business decisions out there, not playing hard enough. And then after this game, which they got creamed in, he's complimenting them, saying, the guys kept battling to the very end. I appreciate them for it. It's a group effort. It's a team effort. We all got to find a way to do better. We will pinpoint and look at a lot of things, from coaches to play calling, to players, to execution, to situations, so that we can do a better job and put us in a position in the fourth quarter to actually have a chance to win instead of playing catch up. So, they got a bye this week, so maybe they can figure some of this out. I don't know, but I'd say he's all over the place. And in terms of a head coach, it's a very unstable situation there.
Well, that's what happens when you have a bad team, and that's what we said all the way back in August, that this team is not built to win. You have a shaky quarterback situation of Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, and when those are your top two choices, you're already starting as a bottom 10 team. I don't care about the amount of weapons, and that's the excuse that we got. They're too good to be this bad. As you always say, the quarterback handles the ball on every single play. Gardner Minshew is not good enough to lead this team to even a 500 record. Aiden O'Connell, which Gardner Minshew got benched for, he hasn't lived up to what expectations were. They're 2-7. I think 6 or 7 other teams are tied at 2-7. The Raiders are a bad NFL team. Yes, they're banged up with injuries. But even before a lot of these injuries, like Christian Wilkins, offensive line's always banged up. They weren't a good team to begin with. Devontae Adams. People were saying, they can never trade Devontae Adams. Did anyone look at the receiver show on, I think, Netflix? He was literally about to force a trade with Jimmy Garoppolo last year. So how could you believe, I'm content here? No, not at all. I'm not saying Antonio Pierce is a bad head coach. Has he said some stuff like the business decisions, like the Mahomes rules, that aren't exactly great things to say to the media? Absolutely. But I'm going to give him a pass because this is his first time being named the full-time head coach of an NFL team. There's rumors going around about, because Brady's the minority owner, that Mark Davis will say, you know what, how about we go out and get Bill Belichick to come to this? Belichick is not going to be the Raiders head coach. Way too much instability for Las Vegas. Does he have the Emperor Palpatine, type of persona that kind of fits with Las Vegas? Sure. But there's way too much instability for an 8-time Super Bowl winning coach to go over to Las Vegas and make that team at least relevant. So for me, this is a bad team. Defense is not great. They allowed Joe Burrow to throw 5 touchdowns and look phenomenal. The offense is anemic. No running game. Alexander Madison, who was the backup to Zamir White, has done better than your starting running back. Offensive line's not great. There's a chance now Desmond Ridder will be your starter, which will be your third quarterback. And everybody knows, as the saying goes, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have actually 0. How about this? If Desmond Ridder's the starting quarterback, there's a high likelihood, and I'm going to break the schedule right now, that there's an opportunity for you not to win another game in a very long time. I mean, look at this. Yes, your bye week is now. But think about this. Dolphins right now, I think they're going to hit some sort of hot streak with Tua back. How about the Broncos? One of the best defenses. I think Bo Nix is hitting a very, very nice streak. They did get blown out by the Ravens. They're not on the same wavelength as the Baltimore Ravens. No one expected them to be. Hell, if they win one more game, they actually surpass their Vegas over-under. They were 5.5 going into this year. So I think the Broncos will give them trouble. The Chiefs, they're obviously probably going to lose again to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Buccaneers, I think Baker Mayfield's going to play tremendous. I think they'll be able to take down the Raiders. The Falcons, I think, will do a very nice job. The Jaguars have an opportunity to beat you as well. Who else? The New Orleans Saints, there's your opportunity to win another game. And then the Chargers have one of the best defenses in the NFL. Paint me the wins here. This was a team that Raiders fans ripped on me for by calling them a bottom 3 team in the NFL. Show me the wins. Show me how, as a couple people said, show me how they're an 8-9 team, 9-8 team, a playoff team. There's no way this Raiders team currently constructed can win more than 5 games. So the person who bet me $1,000 for the Raiders to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, I'll take you up on that offer because they are one of the worst teams in the NFL. There's no way that with Jacoby Myers as your wide receiver 1, no running game, bad offensive line, quarterback could be Desmond Ridder, defense is falling apart even though Maxx Crosby's still out there, head coach that just fired his entire offensive staff, that they're going to somehow turn it around. So please, anybody out there, Raiders fan, NFL fan, Chargers fan, Chiefs fan, Tampa Bay Bucks fan, Arizona Cardinals, tell me how the Raiders team can at least make the playoffs. Hell, even get to a 500 record. I'll even ask you, this is not a 500 team, is it?
No. And we said that at the beginning of the season. Right now, their power ranking is number 31. And they have some injuries. Aiden O'Connell's out. The center, Andre James, is out. They traded Devontae Adams, their best receiver, to the Jets. They lost their left tackle, Colton Miller, and the backup, Andreas Pete. And they during the Bengals game, my takeaway on the Raiders, the roster just is not competitive enough to compete even in their own division. There was no upgrade at quarterback. They haven't gotten enough from Minshew. His 8 interceptions, 5 fumbles. He's been benched 3 separate times. I think one thing that's interesting that they've done, they brought in Norv Turner as assistant head coach. His son is on the offensive staff, Scott Turner. Maybe he's going to step up to be the offensive coordinator, and his father will mentor him. That could be a plus for the Raiders. We'll have to wait and see.
There's no way going into this season you could look at that offensive roster and see Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell as your as by the way, a quarterback competition between those two and say 500 record. And not only that, let's get into it. What makes this even worse is Luke Getsy, your OC, going into this season, who did just get fired. They were struggling with his offense. This is the same guy who a bunch of Bears fans were saying ruined Justin Fields, which seems to be at least partially true. That was your offensive coordinator. Your offensive line coach, which people said, with Colton Miller, yes, Colton Miller is a very good left tackle, but he's not great. He's not a top 5 tackle in the NFL. Offensively, this is how bad it's gotten. Beginning today, they ranked 29th in the NFL in total offense, 280 total yards a game. That's a problem. Last in rushing yards, no surprise there with Zamir White and Alexander Madison with 76.9. 26th in scoring. They score barely above 18 points a game. This is not let's bring up the schedule one more time. Unbiased opinion.
I don't see any wins there except maybe the Saints.
So you're saying that they could end the year 3-14.
Could be.
I don't see 5 wins here. Unless you're saying they somehow beat the Broncos. But Bo Nix,
I don't think so.
Bo Nix threw one half, actually before like the very end of the first half touchdown the Ravens got, through 1 3/4 quarters, looked toe-to-toe with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore offense.
Yeah.
They were going right at it.
Yeah, they got
And then
they
the
got trounced
separation
in
in the
the
second.
end.
Yeah, the separation. definitely
41 to
took place.
10 was not a very competitive game. No.
But through the first 1 3/4 quarters, it was very competitive watching that game. I think Tua will bounce back. He needs to get something going. The Chiefs are currently undefeated. The Bucs just took him to overtime as well. The Atlanta Falcons go up against some of these teams, beat the Bucs.
Maybe the
twice.
Jaguars. Maybe the Jaguars
do have
is
one of the
team.
worst pass defenses in the NFL. But at that point, what's going to happen?
Even then, they'd only have 4
Peterson may
wins.
not even be the head coach at that point.
Even then, they would only have 4 wins.
And then the Saints, I give you, and then the Chargers have one
They're
of the
not
best
going to win the
defenses
Chargers
in the NFL.
game. That last game for the Chargers is going to be important. They're probably a playoff, getting into the playoffs for them.
I understand. Raiders fans look at, maybe Jack Jones. And by the way, Jack Jones has done a tremendous job at jumping screen passes and picking them off for pick 6. He did that against Joe Burrow in this game. And you look at Maxx Crosby, he's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. And going into this year, Christian Wilkins, who a bunch of teams, like for instance, the Dolphins just let him go. Didn't really, create competition to try to retain him. You can look at Brock Bowers and be like, okay, we got a really good tight end, and Michael Mayer, who, not bad, but he's been injured large parts of this year. You have Devontae Adams, who campaigned for Antonio Pierce, but a couple weeks in realized that this is just a bad situation. You can't go in, I understand that some Raiders fans might be intrigued by this idea, but look at the rest of the NFL. Look at the rest of the AFC. How about this? Look at the rest of your own division first. Look at just the competition. The Chargers we knew were going to be better. The Chiefs just won their second straight Super Bowl. I think you look at the Broncos, they were a promising team with a rookie quarterback, and they have one of the best offensive head coaches in NFL history in Sean Payton. So were they going to be as poor as they were last year? There was a chance. I think that with Bo Nix, once again, they've won 5 games. Their over-under for Vegas was 5.5. I'd say they probably go 7-10, which actually is looking pretty likely, which would be very impressive for Bo Nix and that offensive roster, which really doesn't have a lot of weapons. The Raiders are just not a good team. And there's no animosity because we're not Chiefs fans. We're not Chargers fans. We're not Broncos fans. So where's the bias coming in?
There isn't.
There isn't any.
It's just objective analysis.
You don't even need to look at the rest of the NFL. Look at within your own division and say, how are you going to make the playoffs?
No.
With the Chargers, who have a massive upgraded head coach, and the Justin Herbert is only going to get better, and you drafted the best offensive lineman in the draft. Then you go up against the Chiefs, who just won the second straight Super Bowl, and you have a somewhat stable rookie quarterback with the Denver Broncos. The Raiders is not a good team. It's not a good team. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.